is Clifton Hall. Our third panelist is me, John Angeles. Our fourth is Angie Cabrera, and Miss Tisha Robinson, and Imani Foku.
Marlon and Clifton, I met them about a month or so ago. They have a fabulous program based out of Brooklyn, New York. And Brooklyn, you all know that Brooklyn is the borough of Kings. And so they're going to talk about their program and what they do and how they can help us here in Central Islip. The name of their organization is Presidential. And so I want to welcome them to Central Islip and give them this opportunity to give us a presentation.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody feeling? Good. That's a vibrant good. Reverend Pearson, thanks for having us here. Thanks for allowing me to be in your space. So as John mentioned, my name is Marlon Peterson. And I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I run an organization called the Presidential Group, which is sort of set up like a consultancy where we work with folks who have different programs and organizations to implement community-based solutions. And with Clifton Hall, he'll talk about the Hall Leadership Academy. And actually, I think we have a handout that's been floating around about the various programs that we provide. But before we even talk about programs we provide, I want to give you a little bit of context of like why we are here and like why we do the work that we do, and also a little bit of like how Clifton and I started working with each other, because we didn't just like meet each other a couple weeks ago or a couple years ago. Clifton and I come to this work as a very, people use the term like directly impacted by issues of poverty, but also crime and violence, etc. So him and I met in a very, one of those places that unfortunately too many black folks go to, and that we met in prison. And between the two of us, he can tell a little bit more about himself, but I think we may have maybe about 25, 27 years in prison between the two of us. In the amount of time we spent there. But the way we met inside is interesting. I think that's the most pivotal part. It is that we met inside because we wanted to sort of start a program from inside to mentor young folks. And it was through letter writing correspondence. And it was measurable success in us being able to get that program started while we're inside. And then once we were released, we were able to implement it in schools in Brooklyn, particularly in Brownsville, New York, and it's still running. Through some other folks who also joined up with inside. And we see measurable success with those programs as well. So I think Clifton being a Long Islander, I don't know if Long Island, that's the right term to use. But
we'll take it from now.
But Clifton, particularly being a from Long Island, you know, he wanted to be able to, I don't want to say use the term give back, but he wanted to be able to be a part of, the things that he's done in other parts of the city, where he's worked before. He wanted to be able to bring things here to Long Island, where he's from, and that's the wonderful part of the whole Leadership Academy, which he can speak about.
And so, and as Marlon said, I am Clifton Hall, and I am the one that is from Long Island. So I have, like Marlon said, so I have done a lot of my work in New York City, and that's a court-involved program. So it's an alternative to incarceration or alternative to detention, meaning that we work with young people to help young people stay out of troubles so that they can avoid having like a felony on their record, something that will prevent them later on from getting jobs. So I worked in that capacity for over 3 years. But like Marlon said, me and Marlon met in prison. And so I knew that me coming home from prison, it wouldn't be a simple case of me coming home and paying taxes like everybody else and feeling like I was forgiven. I felt like in order for me to like really reach a point where I can be forgiven, is that I had to come home and I had to start helping the same community that I took so much away from. And so it was extremely important to me that once I got my education in New York City, once I felt I figured out a way to help young people in my community, that I then come back to this community and I give whatever I can to help us moving forward as a community. So we had this fabulous program that I would imagine he would tell you in the presentation part, or We'll make the presentation of solutions. Okay. And so the program that we have is called the Hall Leadership Project. And so what is this project? So as we mentioned, I'm a person who was a juvenile offender as well as an adult offender. So meaning I started getting in trouble at a very young age. And so at the age that I can remember where I had like just a clear idea of what I wanted to be was probably around 12 or 13. At that time, I used to read a lot of spy novels like Robert Ludlum and Tom Clancy. So I wanted to be involved in law enforcement. I wanted to do something with being some type of spy, something with working with government agencies. And so I just remember it being like the summertime, and we had friends who we always used to hang with. And it was an area of like a store where we go up to the store to like buy things for ourselves, junk food, quarter water, and things like that. And there was a guy up there who was older than us, and he started engaging us in the process of selling drugs. And he convinced us to become involved in drugs and start selling drugs. And I just remember as being involved in that life, everything starts to change about you. Your ideas start to change, your thinking start to change, the way you treat and the way you look at other people start to change, because you start to think of them in derogatory terms. You start to think those are the things that you have to do while you're out in the street to maintain and keep yourself safe. And so those was the process of me going from a young person who wanted to do all the good in the world, not knowing the influence of being involved in drug culture, what that was going to do to me. And so I'm gonna bring it closer for us, right? Let's say we have police officers. We know them, right? How we know them? We know them by the uniform. We know them by the way they talk. Sometimes we know them by the way they dress. How do we know that? We can say to somebody, you're acting like a police officer, right? Because we know there's certain mannerisms or things that we assign to a police officer. With a football team, same thing, right? They wear a uniform, something that identifies them as a team. They have a locker room of silence. So there's certain things that we know of football players. So even out of uniform, we may be able to identify athletes or football players by the leather jacket that they wear. They may be physically bigger than other people, and they may speak in certain ways that we can identify. Same exact thing happened with a gang. We identify them by their clothes, the color they wear. We identify them by the way that they behave. We identify them by the hand signals or languages. These are some of the ways that we identify them. And that is so pervasive, we know it before we even enter a game. So that when we enter a game with the idea that we are independent, that nothing can change us or influence us because we're our own people, we're not followers, we're leaders, we're fooling ourselves to go into these games and believe that we can remain independent, or we can hang with people who smoke marijuana and feel, I'm not gonna smoke marijuana because I'm just not. I'm on a football team, or my parents teach me I'm not. When you're hanging with that type of influence, when you're hanging with those type of people, is an absolute certainty that those people are gonna have a major influence on you and your life. And so why is this program is important? This program is important because we wanna isolate young people before they start getting involved with gangs, before they started going to high school, where it becomes extremely more difficult to pull people out of gangs. And it becomes extremely more dangerous as well. Right? So we want to take these young people and we want to put them in class. We want to give them a survey so that we can track it. We want to have a measurable result. We want to show that after our youth leave these class, that when we track them, that the rate of enrollment for gangs of people enrolling in gangs is going to be significantly lower. And so what do we do in the classrooms? Is one thing that we came to understand like very quickly in coming home and working with young people inside a classroom. All day by themselves, they're either on phones, they're either on laptops, they're either on television, so technology is speeding up their minds. And then we put them in the classroom and we talk like the clear-eyed, red-eyed guy, and we lose them. There's no connection because they're used to working with their hands. They're used to technology. They're used to like education now moving, education no longer being static. So what we designed is activities. We have like different things that we teach them inside of, not that we teach them, that they discover themselves through the process of a workshop and through the process of us facilitating that information. So that they know for themselves, when I leave middle school, if I want to be a musician, the best people for me to probably be with is Glee Club members because they work with musicians a lot. If I want to be a lawyer, it's probably good to seek out a debate team because they sharpen the way that they orate, they sharpen the way that they're able to speak. If I want to be an athlete, I should hang with other athletes who have the dedication to work out and make sure that their bodies are physically ready and able to succeed on the football field. That's what the Hall Leadership Project is about. That's what